Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the I Pick Passion podcast where we dive deep into the journey of discovering and pursuing what sets your soul on fire. I'm your host, Erica Bates, and I'm so excited that you're here with me today. Whether you're tuning in for the first time or if you've been on this ride with me since the start, thank you. Today, I want to get real about something we all deal with. Obstacles. Whether you're trying to change careers, whether you're trying to start a creative project, or just live a life that feels fulfilling, you probably faced your share of roadblocks, right? I know I have. In fact, let me tell you a little story about an obstacle I ran into recently. When I started this podcast, I had all these ideas and this excitement. But honestly, I also had a lot of doubt. I questioned whether people would even care about what I had to say or if I'd be able to manage all the technical stuff. I remember the first time I tried recording an episode. Everything that could go wrong, it went wrong. I struggled with the editing software. My mic didn't work properly. And I just thought, is this a sign that I shouldn't be doing this? But you know what? That moment taught me something. It taught me that obstacles aren't a sign to stop. They're a sign to slow down, regroup, and keep going. So today, we're talking about exactly that. How to overcome those obstacles that come with chasing your passion. How do we push through the doubt, the fear, and the real life challenges that seem to pop up just when we're getting started? Let's get into it. So let's start by acknowledging something super important, that obstacles are inevitable. Whether you're just starting out or you've been at this passion thing for years, obstacles are part of the deal. And honestly, they're not something to be avoided. If anything, they can teach us so much. Think about it. Some of the most successful people we know have faced major setbacks. Oprah Winfrey, she was fired from her first TV job as an anchor. And look at where she is now. Steve Jobs, he was literally fired from the company he created. But what did these people do? They didn't stop. They used those setbacks as fuel to get better, to grow, and to eventually succeed. And it's not just external obstacles either. Some of the biggest hurdles we face are internal. Believe me, that self-doubt, yeah, it's real. I know for me, imposter syndrome shows up a lot. You might be nodding along right now, thinking, yep, that's me too. It's that little voice in your head that says, who are you to do this? But here's the thing. I truly believe that the fact that we're doubting ourselves means we're pushing ourselves into something bigger, something worth doing. Then, of course, there are the external obstacles. Things like not having the resources or the time, or even feeling like the people around you don't get what you're trying to do. That can feel really isolating. And let's not forget life, because sometimes life just happens. Whether it's a health issue, financial stress, or even a global pandemic, these are things that we can't control, but we still have to find a way through. Okay, so we know obstacles are going to happen, but how do we handle them? One of the biggest lessons I've learned is that it all comes down to mindset. You can't always control what happens, but you can control how you respond to it. Let me say that again. You can control how you respond to it. I've had to learn to reframe challenges, and this was not easy. But I started thinking, what if this obstacle is actually a lesson I need? Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? I started asking, what is this trying to teach me? And it sounds simple, but it's been such a game changer. For example, when I was struggling with all the tech issues while creating this podcast, I could have thrown in the towel, and believe me, I thought about it. But instead, I decided to look at it as an opportunity to learn new skills. And trust me, I did not feel like a tech expert at the time. Still don't, honestly. But pushing through that has helped me so much now. Another big piece of this is practicing gratitude. Even when things are tough, I try to find something, anything to be grateful for. It can be as small as being grateful for a friend who encouraged me, or just the fact that I had another chance to try again. Gratitude doesn't fix everything, but it shifts your mindset enough to keep going. I also want to talk about having a growth mindset. This means believing that your abilities aren't fixed. They can grow with effort and time. So when you face an obstacle, instead of thinking, I'm just not cut out for this, try thinking, I'm still learning. This is helping me grow. Now that we talked about mindset, let's get into some practical strategies for overcoming obstacles when they come up. The first one, consistency over perfection. I'll say that one again. Consistency over perfection. Look, I've learned a lot, and I've learned that you don't have to have it all figured out to move forward. You just have to keep showing up. It's not about being perfect. It's about making progress. When I was figuring out how to structure this podcast, I didn't get it right the first time or even the second time, but I'm continuously showing up week after week, tweaking things until I get it right or until I feel like it is right. And it's beginning to come together. That consistency is what moves you forward, even when it feels like you're not making any big leaps at all. Another tip is to break big obstacles down into smaller, manageable steps. Let's say you're trying to start a business, but it feels overwhelming. Instead of trying to do everything at once, break it down. Step 1 might be just researching. Step 2 might be reaching out to someone for advice. When you break things down, they become less intimidating. And don't forget to lean on your support system, whether it's friends, mentors, or even an online community. You don't have to do this alone. Learned personally, I've leaned on people around me during some of the toughest times. Sometimes it was as simple as sending a text to a friend saying, "Hey, I'm struggling," or just being honest enough with myself to be honest with others. Those conversations can be a lifeline when you're feeling stuck. And I am one to do everything or attempt to try to do everything on my own. But sometimes you need help, and it is okay to ask for help. It is okay to extend and say, "Hey, I need a hand." Or even if it's just to talk, to vent, to get it off your chest. Lastly, let's talk about self-care. Yeah, I said it. You can't pour from an empty cup, but I know we all try to. When you're in the middle of dealing with an obstacle, it's so important to take care of yourself, whether that's making time to rest, meditate, or just do something you love. Remember, your passion is important, but so is your well-being. Because without your well-being, you can't provide for others. You can't be there for others. You can't show up for yourself in the way that you need to if you aren't taking care of yourself first. So remember that. All right. So let's recap real quick. Obstacles are inevitable, but they don't have to stop you. It's all about how you face them. By shifting your mindset, practicing gratitude, breaking things down, and leaning on your support system, you can overcome just about anything. Remember, the only way out is through. So here's my challenge to you. Think about one obstacle you're facing right now. Maybe it's something big, or maybe it's just a small frustration. I want you to journal about it. Ask yourself, what can this obstacle teach me? How can I break it down into smaller steps? And if you feel comfortable, I'd love to hear your story. You can share it with me on social media. Just use the hashtag #overcomingwithpassion. I'll be keeping an eye out, and who knows, I might even share some of your stories on an upcoming episode. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Next week, we'll have our very first guest. I'm so excited to reveal this guest. She's one of my favorite people, one of my absolute favorite people, and I can't wait to share that episode with you guys. So please check it out next week. Stay tuned. Until then, keep going after what you love, and I'll talk to you soon.